All right, well, moving on to number 18. And number 18 is sponsoring local teams to participate in the youth sports events held in your community. Leverage the events you're already recruiting to benefit your local populace. Listen, your bread and butter isn't going away. You're just getting much smarter about it. You're still going to be recruiting events. So, how can you leverage those events to do the most possible good for your community? What if your organization saved a couple of G's on, say, sponsorship and advertising, and instead underwrote some local teams to be able to participate in the events you're actually bringing to the community? Maybe teams that can't afford to travel up and down the West Coast all summer long. Now, I think that's an idea. You could actually negotiate those types of things into your contracts with event owners instead of, say, lucrative hotel room night kickbacks for them. Another idea is to start a Hall of Fame. Then you can recognize the people and the athletes that are already doing tremendous things to drive the community forward through sports in your community. Well, there's great examples of this all over the country. We can help you if you need help, if you need some recommendations on what other markets are doing to launch a successful Hall of Fame or recognition banquet. Feel free to reach out and we'll give you that information. All right, we're going to move over to the personnel side of things within your organization for the next couple of these. Number 19, hire folks from outside the industry. It brings a fresh perspective from outside of our little echo chamber. Anything someone needs to learn from their role in the industry, we can teach them. It's not rocket science, as long as you have the right person with the right mindset. So sport and ego typically go hand in hand, and sometimes that's problematic. There's a concept in sports scholarly literature called stacking, and it's where college coaches, pro coaches, they tend to recruit people like them because that's what they know and that's what they're comfortable with. Well, we could be guilty of the same thing in our industry. Now, I'm not saying it's a problem to hire from within the industry or elevate up from within the industry. We all want to create those opportunities. But what I'm saying is sometimes there's a lot to be learned from bringing people with outside perspectives into our atmosphere, into our ecosystems. Now, when I used to run the sports commission in Grand Junction, I could interview for an intern or for a full-time position. And when I asked somebody, why do you want this job? If they answered, because I played sports, because I love sports, or because I always wanted to work in sports, that was an immediate red flag for me to say they have no way of knowing. They have no idea why they truly want this job. What I was looking for were people that brought diversity of thought, diversity of skill sets, maybe tangential experience that hadn't been applied yet in the sport ecosystem but I felt like was a value added to our overall organization. Put them in their wheelhouse, give them a purpose, trust them, and watch as they and the organization thrive. All right, for number 20, we're sticking with the personnel side of things, although this time we're going to look internally to ourselves. Enlist somebody to conduct a 360-degree review of you. Set your sports ego aside and humbly learn from it. Pick the one thing from that review that you want to change and practice until you get it. Yep, that ego thing. It's time to deal with that. One of the most productive practices as a leader in any industry can do is to have a 360-degree review completed. I know firsthand it's a humbling experience. And yes, it's really hard in the moment, but it can point out blind spots, give subordinates and colleagues a chance to give honest and anonymous review, and serve as one of the most illuminating ways to promote self-improvement. Now, this journey of life is to be filled with grace and love. So don't let it be an exercise in shame or condemnation, but one that humbly drives you forward towards self reflection and continued progress. Because ultimately, we want to try to become the person that you want to be. I know you'll find it one of the most rewarding things you'll ever do for yourself if you have the courage to do it. Number 21, and you guys know me, this one's going to be near and dear to my heart, but it's question every piece of data and research you see. Aside from it being really fun, okay, maybe that's just me as I wrote in the article, it's also your responsibility and it improves your understanding and evaluation of sound research. I've got a whole video on that we'll link to. Here's the thing, not all data is created equally. It's a crying shame when sus data is passed off as legit. I think that's what the kids say these days. Suspect, when inadequate research is passed off as legit. First, because it's the wrong thing to do. And second, because it's being used to make business decisions in the industry with those precious resources we already discussed. But ultimately, the onus falls on you and on me as the consumer to educate ourselves about what we're reading, ask questions, and use a healthy level of skepticism to evaluate its efficacy or accuracy. Now, I've seen some real head scratchers out there that are passed off like gospel. And the truth is, when we do this, it may be easy or saving ourselves times, but what it actually does is undermine the very credibility in the industry we're trying so hard to establish. And it also blinds us when the factors right in front of our face might tell us otherwise. But XYZ says this. That doesn't really matter when reality is showing us something quite different. And no researcher is perfect. That's an unreal expectation. It should always be put in proper context, however. So quit taking, relying, and paying for insane amounts of research that you either don't understand or aren't doing your homework on. Let's get savvier about research. It's going to make us use our funds better, and it's going to help us and our organizations thrive. All right, number 22 has to do with research, but we're going to take it another step further. And it's about not paying for fancy research and platforms to justify your existence. Instead, use that money to do something in your community that demonstrates your organization's necessity to it. I contend if you demonstrate properly, you won't have to justify it. So while we're on the research topic, I'm guessing many markets have line items that equate to hundreds of thousands of dollars for fancy dashboards. Chances are much of this is being used to crank out reports that justify an organization's existence. And the same holds true in sports as well, especially when more business is not always better. More on this later, but I'd argue if we spent the same amount of time and energy demonstrating why our work is a necessity to our market through ROM, we'd have to spend a whole lot less time, energy, and money validating it through expensive research and platforms, especially when we haven't educated ourselves as experts in the input data that underpins these newfangled must-have Power BI systems. Now, I know this flies in the face of the traditional mindset that we have to buy 145 different pieces of real-time data to determine that visitors into our town, college town, on a Saturday in October are there to attend a home football game, hit up some restaurants and a couple of bars. But I have faith in our critical thinking skills to be able to put that one together on our own. Do the less glamorous things. Talk to the real people in your community. Tell the real stories, and the proof will be in the pudding. We're getting towards the end now. We're on number 23. We might as well keep on lighting a fire. Throw away your copy and paste strategic plans. It's a new day and a new time for new ideas. It's probably gathering dust on your shelf anyway. Remember that thing that's collecting dust on the shelf? Or maybe you've even been never even got printed in the first place? Yeah, that one. You can probably cross out your destination's name and insert any other destination's name in its place, and it would still hold true. Sure, some nuances here and there, but trust me when I say I've seen enough of these things to know how the game works. Here's your 5-year plan and a hearty pat on the back. Good luck with it all. I'll call you again in 4 years when it's time to renew your plan. In which case, I'll give you a little dust over and a refresh on basically the same stuff again. Ouch. I know it hurts, but it's also the way our industry has operated. Some questions to ask include, how much got implemented? How much has the needle moved in my community? How have we served our community with this information? Are we making a difference for our residents, our underserved populations? Are we focused on quality, not quantity? What measurable outcomes beyond just economic impact have been achieved? What lives have we changed? If you can genuinely answer those questions in a positive manner, then congratulations. You're likely holding the only 5-year strategic plan that's worth what you paid. If you can't, then it's time to reconsider this approach altogether. I believe there's a better way. And P.S., as I've said before, and will humbly and lovingly say again, our industry will not look the same in 5 years because it can't. Well, we've rounded third and headed for home, and I'm on number 24 now, and I just mentioned this in number 23 ahead. I mentioned quality over quantity. We don't need to maximize the number of events in our communities. We need to optimize the events in our communities. Here's a freebie. You also don't need to spend time on 40 speed dating appointments times 3 or 4 trade shows a year to accomplish the quality over quantity. Okay. Psst. We're playing the wrong game. We've been playing the quantity game all along, not the quality game. It's a quality game, not a quantity game. Yeah, you picked up in that on that in number 23. The evidence is all around us. Look at Venice. Look at Barcelona from a general tourism perspective. Look at travel sports expenses. Look at kids getting left out from a sports tourism perspective, particularly at the youth level. Look at declining participation rates. More does not equal better. If we are truly stewards of sports in our destination, or our destination's quarterback of sports, as I like to say, then things such as over tourism, lack of access to sports participation, etc., cannot be the acceptable result. We call this industry an ecosystem. And what do we know about ecosystems? They require a delicate balance to ensure sustainability. The same is true with sports tourism and tourism in general, for that matter. Too much of a good thing turns into a bad thing. So we must be careful. We must be crafted. We must seek optimization, not maximalization. What is best for our community is often in direct conflict with what is best for you to achieve performance standards, room nights goals, commission goals, etc. We can't keep doing it the same way. It's crucial that we adapt to this truth. It must be quality over quantity.